title of your talk, but you've got no slides. Go for it.
Oh, thank you so much. Kia ora, Sambo Blanca, Molecular Historian. First of all, I want to acknowledge my father over there, Natasha, and partner Ray, and Chochi, and the wife Laura, and of course my pillar of strength, my wife Mary, who's sitting there. And thank you so much for the invitation today. It's great to be here. And I know I came ready for an hour presentation. I've been told in no uncertain terms, in a very authoritarian way, that I only have 10 minutes. So I'll stick with that strictly. Now, my topic is supposed to be looking at interdisciplinary research and its role, particularly in evolving and changing global knowledge climate. And basically three things I'm going to be talking about. One is some of the examples of interdisciplinary research I've been involved with. And secondly, I'll be looking at some of the implications of those in terms of knowledge equity, knowledge diversity, and connection across not only the Pacific, but across the globe, across indigenous peoples, and across various communities around the world that I've been working with for these years. And then after that, I will finish off. By the time it will be 10 minutes. Now, over the years, I've been involved in various interdisciplinary research. I've led a number of global teams, just 3 or 4 of them. The first was the Global Ethnicity Project, which was commissioned by the Springer and Palgrave. They kind of merged together. It's like Springer and Palgrave. That's what's happening in that space. And part of the project was to produce the largest work on ethnicity ever, with about 3 volumes of more than 1,000 pages and 102 chapters altogether. In terms of interdisciplinary studies, it was one of those rare opportunities to bring together people from all the different disciplines around the world, from psychology, philosophy, political science, economics, cultural studies, and so forth, to redefine ethnicity, particularly from the point of view of the global south, because most of the work in that area has been focused largely on the global north, as it were. So they got me in, because I'm a global south person, to kind of reframe the research and reframe the global research of ethnicity. And the second one was a global research on global security, which is always framed along the lines of North American and European political scientists. The thing is to reframe it in the context of the global south again. Under the auspices of the International Political Science Association. I'm chair of the International Political Science Association Research Committee on Security and conflict, as well as democratization. So reframing global security in the context of the power dynamics, particularly of the weaker members of a global society, was one of the focus of that. We produced a number of books, and one is still coming out. And the third one is again, a research I've been leading on Pacific health, the social context of Pacific health in New Zealand, in Aotearoa. Particularly looking at social protection from the point of view of social protection. I have a team consisting of researchers from Canterbury University and Glasgow as well. So the whole idea is to move away from the conventional notion of the Pacific as being, and Maoris as well, as being inflicted with health issues all the time in a negative way, in a deficit way, and then looking at things from the point of view of social protection, how you can empower people to be able to address those particular issues. And one of the latest ones, and one of the issues nowadays is, of course, climate crisis. In New Zealand, officially, it's climate emergency by the government, the new government. MFAT I'll be signing a contract with them very soon. It's a multi-million-dollar contract to do a major interdisciplinary assessment of climate crisis in the Pacific, looking at the indigenous knowledge on one hand, and on the other hand, the hard sciences,
the meteorologists, the meteorology bit, and the oceanography, and the usual suspects, and everything else in between, from economics to political science and so forth, is part of the global assessment. Remember the Paris Agreement, which mandated that after so many years, in this case 2023, there'll be a global assessment. And this is part of the New Zealand contribution to the global assessment from the Pacific point of view, focusing on 16 countries altogether in the region. So the second part of my presentation has to do with what is all these things about. One of the things which academia has done, which universities have done to us, is to create little boxes within which we exist, little silos. And then you have, of course, nowadays, you have the neoliberalization of knowledge, of education, where universities are no longer places of learning as such in the traditional sense, but supermarkets, but corporatized institutions where knowledge itself is being put into different matrices and algorithms. And then you have the audit culture is in place where everything is audited. And then if you have won your promotion, then you tick those boxes of metrics. No matter how smart you are, you won't be able to get anywhere. So that is one of the biggest dangers which is confronting interdisciplinary research. One of the things about interdisciplinary research is the way in which it creates a condition for equity in knowledge and diversity in knowledge, particularly for minority groups, for marginalized groups, whose knowledge in the hierarchy of global knowledge systems is always seen as right down there. If you're doing, when I first came into New Zealand, I've worked in various universities around the world, in Britain, in Australia. When I came to New Zealand, I was kind of shocked where, they tell students, if you can't do sociology, can't do anthropology, go and do Pacific studies or Maori studies, it's down there. So the whole structure, which is subconscious, is built into people's perception and the notion of knowledge is that way. And so it is one of the biggest barriers to interdisciplinary studies, and interdisciplinary studies is one of the ways in which you get rid of those boxes. Because in the real world, there are no boxes. Politics, culture, economics, technology are all integrated, are all part of that synergy of interaction in everyday life. But unfortunately, we create graduates who exist in a lot of these boxes. But of course, a lot of universities are pushing back on those. And of course, knowledge system itself has become very, very highly marketized to the extent that in terms of publication, you have big operators like Elsevier, which are making billions of dollars every year. Elsevier, which runs Scopus, which runs a lot of journals and books. They put it behind the paywall. Then you have to, your university will have to pay, or you pay yourself, your own work to have access to it, work which is funded by public money. And then they make billions of dollars. Elsevier made in 2013 $22.5 billion. They had more profit margin than Facebook and other big IT corporations. So what you see is the creation of a new feudal class where academics produce and produce and produce and produce. They don't get anything out of it. And then this feudal class of rich corporations, they make money out of it, out of citation. And universities, we are told, you cite, get your citation. But of course, citation has to do with money. And of course, as you cite more, as you're being cited more, they make more and more money. So the whole corporatization, one of the Nobel winners in 2002 said it's all fraud. So interdisciplinary studies has all those challenges in terms of confronting those. 2 weeks ago, Springer sent me a very happy email. Steve, very happy to note that your book, the volume, 3-volume on global ethnicity, last year, the download rate was 65,000. Let's celebrate, I said. No. I went straight into my computer and calculated how much money they made out of it. They made $38 million just 1 year from my book. I got just a little bit, almost nothing from it. So you have this exploitative, so you have this fraudulent world of academia that we are part of. Sorry to say that. Some of you have been part of it for a long time. And somebody makes money out of you. And to access my own book, I have to pay for it. So that's how, unequal the system is. That's how unjust the system is. Last but not least, I know the chair is looking at his watch, and I'm worried that he might remove me from here by force very soon. I want to go back to the, finish by thanking the Royal Society. The first time I heard of the Royal Society was many, many years ago when I was in primary school. I think it was in class 3 in Fiji, a village school. It was called Yale District School, Y-A-L-E. I was taught by a Peace Corps. He's a graduate of Yale University. There was, I think, the first year when the Peace Corps came out into the world. And he taught me, and then he was teaching us social science. And this particular day, he taught us about explorers. He started from, Magellan and, Columbus, a whole lot. And then Captain Cook. Then he said Captain Cook was sent to the South Seas by the Royal Society. Oh, okay. Bear that in mind, so that the exam is next week. Then I was sitting right at the back, said, excuse me, his name is Thomas, or was Thomas. What is the Royal Society? Then he said, he's an American. He must have read the book the previous night, and Royal Society came up, and then he taught it the next morning. He probably didn't know anything about it. Oh, well, but he probably haven't known about secret societies and so forth. In America, they're full of them. See, the Royal Society is just like when academics and teachers are confronted by teachers with smart questions. You want to pretend that you know, when in fact you don't know, and invent something in your mind quickly. It is a secret society, which, how many of you know about the mafia? A few hands went up. They're kind of like that. And they make their oath to their boss. And they pass around this cow full of blood, which they drink. And then the bell went, it was for lunch. And he was saved by the bell. He couldn't continue with his fake knowledge. And then I was wondering, I was thinking, maybe I should text him. I've just been inducted into that secret society. I haven't seen any skull being passed around yet. The only skull I can see are still attached to bodies. But anyway, somebody's coming with a knife. Oh my gosh, heading towards me. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. I know it's 10 minutes now. That's all I can, my topic is so vast. I can stand here. In fact, I'm writing a book at the moment. It's called Epistemic Siege, the crisis of global knowledge and neoliberalism, the crisis of global knowledge. We explain all these things together in one. So wait for it. I won't get any money out of it, but some big, I call it in the book, predatory publishers who have benefited from marketization of knowledge are going to get rich as I remain as I am. Thank you so much for listening. Wish you all a great day. Thank you.